Okay, now we're live. Hello. Hi, Susanna.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the first of 6 of these, Parenting Beyond COVID. I came up with another name last night, but I always do that when it's midnight and I forget because there was something else I wanted to add to it. But basically, what I'd like to do with these is give parents some different tools with how they can deal with the different world right now. And what I'd like to do is have some vulnerable conversations about how we can change different things. Because it's like, I'm a parent. I have a 15-year-old son. You're a stepmom. You have how old is she?
Also 15.
15. There you go. So we're experienced. But it's like, but you've taken on one of the toughest jobs on the planet, and no one told you that. And the other thing is, with parenting, for a lot of us, it's the biggest part of our lives that we make ourselves wrong in. I'd like to get us out of that part so we can get out of that wrongness part. Because see, the thing we do with that is we go, I'm wrong and bad as a parent. How do I get parenting right? So we do separate sides of the same coin, thinking that's going to change it, thinking if I can only get parenting right, then I can get myself out of this wrongness. But the more we try and get it right, the more we judge ourselves anyway. So what would it be if we could create parenting beyond what we've been told it is, beyond the way that we need to deal with it all, with the way that the world's changing, and into something that actually works for all of us? So definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, this thing's building for weeks for me, because it's like it's also one of those things on the planet right now that a lot of people are struggling with. Like, they've got kids at home, they've got their homeschooling going on, or they've been separated by their kids, or their kids have gotten sick, or they've gotten sick, or they don't know what the future is going to be. So I just like everyone watching now and in the future is totally get it. Okay. And what if you didn't have to do it alone? What if we have the tools where we can create something different with it, so that you actually start thrive with parenting? It becomes something that is joyful for you, not a stress and a burden in your life. And also something that you get to raise your kids with an awareness of who they are, so that they can actually go out into this world and go, you know what, that's not actually true for me. This is true for me, and I'm not going to give that up for lies. And what a gift. I mean, what a gift to have that in this world right now, is to know what's true for you. So what would it take for us to get our kids to that? But also, what would it take if we needed to get to it first?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So like when you just talked, I'm like, like I became a, mom, and I'm saying this, because, our daughter Joy,
Mm-hmm.
I met her when she was 11 or 12, I don't remember. And once, like when I met her, I asked her, what do you want me to be for you? Like to be your friend or just your dad's friend. I want you to be my mom. Oops, I think I'm okay. So
right, you're good.
So she said, I want you to be my mom. And that was like exactly like the internet now. Like, what? And I'm like, I have no reference points. I have no clue what it means to be a mom. But as soon as she invited me to be her mom, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, what's that even mean? What is that? I had to find out. But I also found what you just said is like this whole like thing of wrongness of, okay, how many ways can I F this up? Can I fuck this up? How many ways can I be wrong? And I could feel this, okay, now if I want to be a real mom, I have to make myself wrong, because then, then it's real, And so I realized, okay, so what if I'm not a real mom, what if I just like find out what being a mom is, and you know, how can I create myself as a you know, so-called mom, whatever that means, or what do I know about this? And this is something that created so much freedom. You know, what if I don't have to be a real mom? What if I don't have to be a right mom? What if I just find out what is it for me to be a mom, and how is it today? You know, how is it like to be a mom today? And I realized, especially with a 15-year-old, soon 16-year-old, like she's changing every second. You know, you're like, who do I have in front of me right now? It's like she's so different every moment. So like I have to be on my toes. I have to, you know, like how can we create our relationship today? And it's definitely different every moment. So
Yep.
and that's
Well, I love what you said too about when she first asks you that. And this is really a great tool for anyone who's doing step parents, because for a lot of us, what we do is we jump in there. And I did it. I mean, my first long-term relationship was with this girl I met her when I was 19. She had a 4-year-old son and an 18-month-old daughter. And I went, okay, now I have to be a parent. And I went into so many realities of what that looked like. But like you said at the start of that was the reference points. So I had to find, so what is being a step parent mean? What does being a parent mean? And I had to search for all of the definitions and reference points of what it meant, rather than what you said is ask the question of, okay, what would I like to create this as? And what if I wasn't being a real parent? Like, what if today we all fired ourselves from the jobs of being a parent? You're all fired now. And now if you were to take on that role again, but from a different space, what would you like to create it as? What question could you be that would empower you to know what was true for you, but also empower you to see what's true for your kids, and in turn empower them to see what's true for them? Because one of the things, it's like, I mean, if we look at what's going on the planet right now, there's a lot of lies, you know, and what we do with that is we go, okay, well, there's a lie. They're keeping it secret. How do I find the truth in that lie? You cannot ever find truth in a lie. You can only acknowledge it's a lie. So this is a great tool with your kids too. Is one of the tools that I'm sure we've both used is an access consciousness tool that if it's light, it's right. If it's heavy, then it's not true for you. Okay, so we get that, you know, some people would call it like a twist in their stomach, or it just feels like this weight on your shoulder when you go to choose something. If you've got that heaviness in your world, then are you choosing something that's actually going to create something more, or choosing something that's going to create something less?
Yeah, definitely. And it's like this, you know, this heaviness. I mean, this is, being a parent is such like, you know, it's so easy to go into wrongness. And I looked at this with Joy also, and I'm like, okay, so is this how I would like to create our time together? You know, it's like, or on like, what is really possible here? You know, and then I'm like, she said, like, having a kid, like, and having her in my life, I'm like, what if we just have fun, you know? And what if we're willing to get it all wrong, and you know, and you know, and it's, you know, and whenever judgments come, I'm like, okay, so what if we just turn this into fun? What fun can we have? And then
I love that.
Read it.
But it's like, but that thing too, like you said, of what if we were just willing to get it all wrong? Like as a parent, if you went, okay, so for today, I'm going to be the worst parent there is. Would you have more fun with it? Would you actually create more, or would you have less fun and create less? For most people, they would go, oh my God, but you know that energy there that you go, oh, well, I wouldn't have to judge every choice I make. I could actually look at it and go, okay, if I'm willing to be wrong, what would I choose here? If I didn't have to get this choice right, what would I choose here? And how much more, like, I mean, and parenting has changed so much over the years. Like it's completely different now. We have a lot of the online stuff, and especially now that kids are doing online school, so it's different. But what question can you be that would allow you to create more ease with it? See, what a lot of us do as parents is we go, okay, well, this is what I'm told I have to do, so I give in to this. No, this is what you're told you have to do, but what could you choose that is different that would work for you?
Yeah.
And I'm also going to add in here, after this 10 minutes, if you're listening to this and going, oh, that speaks to me so much, these Facebook thingies, whatever you call it, these are going to be for you. If you're listening to it after 10 minutes and going, what are these quacks talking about? What are these nut jobs talking about? This is probably not going to be that much fun for you, because we're going to go into a lot of crazy things and a lot of tools that actually, it's like both of us have used. I think we both came into Access at the same time, like 10 years ago. And we were, are you happier now?
Oh, much happier. You?
Yes. Do you have more of you now?
Definitely. You?
Yes, definitely. And it's like, the other day I was looking at this, and I was having one of those days where I was going, I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. The whole wrongness game with yourself, thinking that if you can make yourself wrong enough, then you can finally get yourself out of the wrongness, because you can figure out why you're making yourself wrong so that you can stop judging yourself and finally get your life right. Yes, I do that too occasionally. It's okay. But I looked at it and went, okay, so what's the lie in this that I'm trying to buy here? What's the lie in this that I'm trying to tell myself? And I looked at it and went, wow, I looked at my life 10 years ago and went, I was a tradesman. I was sharing a room at my mother's house with my 4-year-old child. I think he was just about to turn 5. I had no money. I was depressed. I had no real outlook for a future. And I looked at it and went, wow, times have changed a little bit in 10 years. But that's been using these tools. It's going around all of these things, because for a lot of us, we were brought up a certain way. Like, you're brought up saying, well, this is how it is. You're being wrong right now. How do you get this right? And so we start learning about judgment, but we also get to, and we start figuring out, okay, so where do I fit in these lies, which keeps us from seeing what's true for us. Yeah. So what we'd like to do is get you to the place as parents, but also with your kids, is where you can look at it and go, okay, what's actually true for me here? Because one of the things I know, well, I've learned is nothing that is true for me is going to be true for somebody else. It's going to have some different energy to it, because we're all different. And this is the way it works with our kids. And this is why a lot of us get frustrated with the education system, because they try and put our kids into a box. Okay, all of you need to sit in a room, all of you need to sit in front of a computer, all of you need to do this work, all of you need to get it right. And you're going, how do I manage this with this kid who just wants to bounce off the walls, and he just wants to do everything he wants to do, and he's full of energy, and he doesn't get why he's being controlled? Like, how do I control my kid so that I get the education part right? And so we're constantly in our heads doing this massive head trip about nothing that actually works for us. What if we didn't have to do that anymore?
And like when you said the kids, and it's like this point of view of, kids are to be controlled, that's such this is something that most parents have learned, as this is what you do with kids, you control them. But how much stress is that creating? How much wrongness is this harnessing, where like, okay, I haven't controlled my kids enough. What if it's not about controlling your kids? What if it's about, okay, where's my kid different? How is it different? And how can we learn to use that difference, for capacity as a resource? And that's where we have a different perspective with these access tools, where we don't look at the wrongness. We don't look at your wrongness when you think you can't control your kid. We don't look at the wrongness when your kid is different. It's like, oh, what a gift when your kid is different. And how can you use this? It's like this, like more the pragmatic point of view of how can we use this, not the dramatic, like what's wrong, and this is what we would like to invite you to, where you look at your kids and their difference, where you look at you and, you are different probably than most other parents. What if you don't compare yourself with how other people do it, but how you do it? Find your unique way of being a parent. How would I like to be a mom? How is it fun for me? How would I like to be a dad? What's fun for me? And, and like any judgment kills the fun. Any judgment kills your humor. It kills the fun you can have with your weird and crazy child. It kills the fun with the weird and crazy you. And that's true quality time. It's not spending like, whatever, wonderful, perfect time with your kid. It's embracing that difference. And I gotta say, like, one of the things that when you were talking, Brendon, was what I so often see also is like people making the past relevant. It's like your past, or like maybe like divorced parents, separated parents, why, oh my God, like my kid went through this and that, what did I do to my kid? It must have an impact on the future of my child. And I like with me being a so-called stepmom, I know like my partner, he was like, oh my God, what did I do to my child? Poor her. And making that past relevant. And also, like, I'm also a psychologist, so I've learned like how it should matter to what the past was. But then looking at reality, really like asking your child, like we asked Joy, so was it really that horrible for you that your parents divorced? Was it really? And she's like, no, oh my God, like my parents, they were fighting the whole time. I was really happy when they finally made the choice that worked for them, something that made them happy. It showed me that I have choice in my future. So, and I've been working with many people who were worried about their children being impacted by the choices the parents made. And it's every time the same. It's like, no, it's not. Like, if you have the point of view that it will impact your child, or that it should be horrible, you're just stressing yourself. Like, look at the reality. Ask your kid, like, how is this for you? Like, don't forget to ask your kids. They will give you a lot of awareness of how is it really for you? Is it really so horrible, or is it actually a gift? Or ask, hey, what gift is this? What gift is this weird and wacky situation we have? So ask questions. Don't assume that you're a horrible person, or the past is relevant. Like, look at what is possible right now with your kid, and with this whole situation, and what future can we create?
Yeah. So you said a couple of big things in there that I want to look at. So the first one was looking at capacities as a resource. Which is a big thing for our kids, because it's like they're all different. Like, your kid might be 6 and can paint this fabulous picture, or they might be able to read the alphabet backwards, or like they have all of these different capacities that you can't explain. You can't explain how a 6-year-old kid is you can't explain that. They just are that. It is who they is. But how do you use that with them as a resource? How do you look at that as the capacity they have and go, okay, so how do we expand on this? Not how do I force them into playing soccer so that they can have more friends, which is a lot of us do as parents. We go, well, but I did it with Nash. I grew up and I was so athletic, and I surfed my whole life, and I think I did every sport that you could do. I'd do them for 2 weeks, and then I'd be like, boring, next sport. And then I'd do something for 2 weeks, boring, next sport. But that's who I am. And so with Nash, he grew up, he was very intellectual. He would rather do things on the computer, or he would rather, ponder to himself, or he would rather do puzzles, or he wasn't into the sports. And for a certain time there, I went, hey, you need to be playing sports, because like this is going to show you that the world is beautiful, and I had all this shit that had nothing to do with him, had everything to do with what I was judging about what he should be choosing. And if you guys can get anything out of this, is please give that up. Please look at your kids' capacities as a resource. That was brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. The other thing is the thing you talked about with the past. And we do that a lot, is we keep looking backwards going, well, but I stuffed this up a week ago. I think I've ruined my kid's life. Like, I think I've really just broken them. You can't break them. I tried dynamically. You can't break them, okay? But it's like, but you have to get to this place where you go, okay, that was yesterday. Okay, yesterday is done. We cannot change the past to create something different. We can only choose the future to create a greater future. Okay, so you got to look at it and go, okay, yesterday's done. What would I like to choose today? What truly can I choose today? And talk to your kids about it. Like, the amount of times I said to Nash, you know what? I'm so sorry. I was an asshole for doing that. I shouldn't have done that. I should have been kinder. I should have been more vulnerable with you, and I shouldn't have said it like that. I'm really, really sorry. And he'd look at me and go, okay, thanks, Dad. You know, and he'd run and do his thing. But that acknowledgement also is the part where your kids get to see that they get to make mistakes in life too. Okay, this is not going to be about being the perfect parent. This is not going to be about creating the perfect child. This is going to be about you being you and your kids being them.
Oh, wow, that is so relaxing and so wow. You know, this it's not about being a perfect parent. It's not about getting your kid to be perfect. You know, this is gold. Amazing.
Well, you're never going to get there. It's the unobtainable target. It really is. It's like, and we've tried it with, like, we've both tried it with not just parents, different aspects of our life. Well, if I get this perfect, then I've got my life right. Perfection is it's like a carrot dangling in front of you. You'll almost get to it because you've judged yourself so well that you're almost there. You're like, oh, I've judged myself so well. I'm almost at this carrot. And then you get to the carrot and you're almost there and the carrot moves away again. And you go, okay, now I need to judge myself more so I can get to that perfection. So it's a perpetual state of judgment that we put ourselves in.
Yep. Yeah.
And you said something else at the end there. Now I forget, but it was brilliant.
I don't remember. I don't know. But it's like what you said there, you know, was so, and I have the same with you because you said something awesome, like, oh yeah, the vulnerability you talked about, like, this was so cool where you said, really, this is so cool, that being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm sorry, you know, like I judged you there, or I did something there. And this is so empowering, you know, like kids hearing that, you can be vulnerable as a parent, as, you know, the person who is, you know, the leader, you know, it's like that you can be vulnerable. You can, you know, fuck things up and you can say, hey, I'm sorry. How can I make this up? This is so beautiful. I mean, what are we showing our kids when we say, you know, like, oh, I had a point of view here. Like, for example, we just had that with Joy, where both Jürgen and I, you know, they have to wear the masks in school now, you know.
Yep.
And like, they just, you know, they really have to wear it the whole school time for hours, you know. And so they have these normal blue ones, you know, the one with a lot of, like, these, you know, with a lot of glue in and stuff. And then they have the other ones. What's the material in English?
Cotton.
The cotton. Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And so we had
the point. And they're hot and they smell.
I know.
Why is it, even if you brush your teeth like 10 times, you put a mask on and your breath still stinks? I don't care. You can smell it coming back at you. I just don't understand. But anyway, that's my rant. I am still getting to interesting point of view about masks, but I'm not there yet.
Me neither. And that's exactly where we were, like, we were an interesting point of view, and we had this point of view. She shouldn't wear those blue ones. She should wear, like, a, you know, something else that didn't have so much glue in. And so we were, hey, Joy, we're gonna, you know, go to a, you know, person who sews you a mask that works for you and it's good for your body, and you can choose a color, and we're like, you should do this, and she's like, no. And we're like, what? And so we realized we had this point of view of her, getting the right mask for her. And then we said, hey, you know what? Sorry, we had a point of view here, please. So sorry, we had a point of view. Do whatever works for you. You know what is good for your body, and we're gonna back off here. And that just changed the whole situation, where she's like, she went away from having to defend her, and having to put up the barriers, to the willingness to look at, okay, what really works for me here. And this is what happens, when you get over your point of view, you say, hey, I'm sorry, we had a fixed point of view here, do whatever works for you. They don't have to defend themselves anymore, and they can find out what's true for them.
Yep. I love that. But see, so the thing with you though there is you're willing to just go, oh, okay. But that's the place we get to that as parents. Like, you can no longer make mistakes. You can choose anything, but then you go, oh, that didn't work. I stuffed that up. Like, I've stuffed up so many things parenting, but you look at it and you just go, okay, that didn't work. Now what? So let's start inserting some tools into this tools book and start seeing how we got free of it. Okay, so, and are still getting free of it. Boy, is it a journey. Boy, is consciousness a serious journey. Boy, is it just a meandering path of just everything. But so with this is, every time that fixed point of view comes up, say interesting point of view, and you can say it in your head, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, to every single point of view. If you do that in your life for 6 months at least, probably more like 12 months, to every single point of view that comes up, you'll be totally free and you'll never have a fixed point of view again. The thing that stops us and controls us is the place that we come to these fixed points of view, because we won't see anything beyond it. We're trapped within it. We've created as this is the way it is, rather than, okay, what else is possible beyond it? And what I love with these lives is it's like, to get as many of these tools in. Access consciousness is a smorgasbord of just everything. Like, there's pretty much nothing that hasn't come up in a class or in any, like, with everything. I mean, we deal with like even things with kids, like, and we'll get into probably some different parts with this over this series, is kids with what they call as disabilities and stuff like that. We're like, that's not a disability. When your kid has that, that's a serious capacity. If we start looking from this different place, we've got to, first of all, though, get out of these fixed points of view, so that we start giving ourselves choice again, and we start actually being in the question, oh, okay, what can we do different here?
Yeah. And that question, that's a tool that is brilliant. Like, turn everything into a question as good as you can, like, oh, I'm trying to get this right. What else is possible here? How does he get any better in this? And, oh, I'm trying to make my child happy, like, oh, I've decided my job is to make my child happy. Okay. Yep. Is this really light, or is this putting a lot of pressure on me? What else is possible here? How does he get any better in this?
Well, I love that. I love that part though. Turn it into a question as good as you can. Okay, as good as you can. Be easy on yourself with this stuff. So it's like with any conclusion, like you said, it's like if you simply get to conclusion and then went, okay, so what else is possible beyond this? That just opens up doors to a whole different universe available to you right now. Because you're not stuck in what you've decided is. You're asking for something different to show up. That's what I'd like to see for people, is where they actually get that with the question and stuff. What I want to do is I want to find this. I've got some. You had some stuff in your book. You've got a chapter in there on parenting.
Yeah.
And there was one part in here that I want to. Okay, so I want to read this from your book. Okay, from your book, Advanced Pragmatic Psychology. You guys can find that, well, you will be able to soon. I'm not sure if it's on that there yet, on that banner, the bottom there, brendonwatt.com/parenting. But this bit of give up control. Okay, so trying to alter people's behavior doesn't work. Do you want to do what's easy for you, or do you want the difficulty of trying to train somebody who doesn't want to be trained? Now, this part here, a lot of us do with our kids. Train somebody who doesn't want to be trained. I mean, do you like being trained? I know I don't. If somebody tells me what to do, I want to do the exact opposite. But that's not a wrongness. Okay, that's just who you is. Saying to your children, I'm not going to support you in this, trying to control things. You're trying to control them with money, which doesn't work. For years, parents have been trying to control their kids by cutting them off. In the 1960s, the idea of tough love was born. Parents practiced tough love so their kids would learn about the consequences of their actions. Some kids would go out and destroy themselves to make their parents wrong, having been tough. Now, this is another one that it's like, I mean, for me as a kid, it's like my parents tried to control me. I almost destroyed myself as a teenager because I went, you're going to try and put me in a corner? Seriously? You can't put baby in a corner. You can't put me in a corner. So I was like, you put me in a corner and I'm fighting my way out of it. But this is what our kids do too, is if we try and control them, they will fight against us to prove our control wrong and to prove you wrong. Yeah. So Gary Douglas, okay? Gary Douglas is the creator of Access Consciousness, for those of you who don't know. Gary knew a guy who had a baby when he was 55. He gave the child anything he wanted. His friends would say, you're spoiling this kid. He's going to end up becoming a rotten egg. The man answered, maybe, but by the time he's a rotten egg, I'll be dead. Why do we assume that spoiling children makes them rotten? You have to look at the situation and ask, is refusing to give them money going to make them change? No, it's not. Give up control, give up control, give up money, give up the stultification of trying to control people's behavior through money. That's all this reality. Give it all up and move on. Okay, this is what we'd like to get you guys to, is where we start looking at it from this different place, from a place beyond this reality. This reality would say, don't spoil your kids because you're going to make them rotten. Is that awareness, or is that a conclusion that we come to because somebody else has told us that that's what's true?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the place we've got to get to. I mean, I remember when Nash was, I think he was great. He might have been like 9, and he was traveling the world, you know, like this kid at 9. And he had
the world.
He had a full passport. He'd traveled more in 2 years than most people would travel in their life. So, and we get home from this trip, and he goes to school, and comes home in the afternoon, and he goes, and he was upset. And I said, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Calling me spoiled. What does it mean to be spoiled?" And I went, "Well, it pretty much means you get the things that you ask for." And he went, "Oh, that's not bad." And I went, "No." And he went on with it because he realized, oh, and then I asked him, okay, so is that teasing something that they're trying to do to control you so that you don't get more than them? Because see, what a lot of kids do with bullying is they will see you as something greater than them and want to try and bring you back down so that everybody's on even keel. Okay, yeah, teachers do this. What's that?
It's another way of controlling.
Yeah, yeah, and that chapter, that part there on control that you guys put in there is brilliant. So I had to read it because it's amazing. So get the book.
Thank you. And it's like, you know, so many parents have decided that's their job. You know, my job is to control. And you know, what would occur if you gave that job up right now? Like, you know, Brendon said, fire yourself from that job of being a perfect parent, of being right, of being a real parent, of having to control, you know. And if you give up controlling your kids, what's left, you know? Inspiring, empowering, What if you turned control into inspiring, into empowering, having fun, creating,
Yep.
what else would be possible then?
Yep, exactly. And elevating themselves into something, like you said, that empowering thing. Hold on one second. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful for these tools too. Thank you, Jenny. And yeah, that IPOV of the past, definitely. Because it's like, for a lot of us, we were controlled as kids. Did it work? The pragmatic part to parenting, the pragmatic psychology, and the pragmatic, pretty much everything we're going to talk about in these is going to be pragmatic, because it's going to be looking at it going, okay, if you choose something and it doesn't work, why are you choosing it again? And what a lot of us do is we go, well, but if I keep choosing it, I'm finally going to figure out a way to make it work. That doesn't work. We've all tried it. Einstein's definition of insanity was to try the same thing over and over and expect a different result. I agree with the man, and that's what we do with our kids. We keep going down the same path going, well, if I just punish them more, eventually I'm going to be able to control them. It doesn't work. We've got to look at it from a different angle and go, okay, so what could I be? What could I choose? And what could I do that would create something different here?
Wow. And that way, when you have that, you actually also include you, because so many parents that how can I, they focus on their child. How can I mold them into something that's a good citizen of the world, as though that is your job, and that's like constantly having to make you wrong. But if you let that go, and invite something different, you actually include you. You're like, okay, as your child does something like, for example, they take drugs or whatever, and you're like, you know what? You coming home drunk or on drugs, that doesn't work for me, and I don't have to take that. It's like where you also include you, and look at, hey, what can be created, what can be changed, and what cannot be created, what cannot be changed, and what works for me. Like, this is where you include you also as a parent. You don't give yourself up and go, oh my God, I have to make sure my kid is perfect. It's like, yeah, I want to have a great life too as a parent. Just because I'm a parent doesn't mean life is over.
Totally. Please get this part, guys. It's like, just because you're a parent doesn't mean your life is over. Okay. Yeah. It has to include you though. But that's that place of, it's like, one of the things you said before was that you can have vulnerability and be a leader. What a lot of us do as parents is we go, but I've got to lead this kid. Like, I've got to create structure in their lives. I've got to create this order so that I can set them out into this world and they know their spot in it. What if you have to look at it from that place? What if you could actually be vulnerable with them and still lead them into being vulnerable with themselves?
And that question that has just been posted here, as far as I know, kids need trust in their parents. Doesn't that mean some level of control of the parents over their kids?
Okay, so let's go over that bit because it keeps pinging in my head. So one of the things we talk about is the 5 elements of intimacy. Okay, so it's honor, trust, vulnerability, gratitude, and allowance. Okay, if you want to create intimacy with your kids, intimacy is the closeness that you get to have, where you have no walls and barriers with them and you can see what is, not from what you've projected of what it has to be. Okay, now with that, trust is not this blind faith. Trust is not, okay, trust me, trust that I'm going to do everything the way that you think I'm going to do it. That is not trust. Okay, trust is recognizing that somebody's going to choose what they're going to choose, when they're going to choose it, how they're going to choose it, because they're going to choose it, because they can choose it.
It's not predictability. It's not like being predictable so the kids know what's going to happen for sure. It's like being in the question.
Yeah, being in the question. And that's the part, because it's like we try and create this predictable thing with our kids, so they're always relying on predictability. Now, in the last 6 months on this planet, has there been any predictability? What I'd like to look at is from this, and what I know both of us and a lot of other people listening to this is from this place of, predictability, safety, and protection, are they actually true, and do they work? You know, I was taught about predictability and structure and things like that. And it's like, and I started seeing the world from a different place, going, wow, nothing is actually predictable. Because we try and create this safety in our lives, thinking that's the way that we can protect ourselves from something, rather than go, okay, the only true protection in my life is awareness. So with what's going on in the world right now is, see, if we were to, let's stick on trust for a minute. If we were to trust the governments of the world, the politicians, the education systems, the banking systems, all financial systems, if we were to trust all of those, what would that mean? Would that mean we get to see every time they lie to us? Because we trust that they will lie when they're going to lie, not we trust that they're going to take care of us because that's what they say. Mm. This is where trust becomes this place of, you get to see what's true for you. You get to see what's actually going to be created, not what you're being told.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things is, yeah. You know, one of the things that Gary got to, he did a podcast with his daughter Shannon the other day, and one of the things he got to is that people like being lied to. And I looked at it for myself, because I was like, okay, where am I doing that? And I looked at the places in my life where I wasn't actually willing to trust what I know. See, they're the places where we'd rather believe lies. Now, we're getting into a little bit of a deeper conversation right now, which I didn't really want to do, but we will do anyway, is what I'd like to talk with you about, Susanna, too, is it's like, we still look at all this stuff. Like, it's not, it's from this place of, okay, where am I choosing that? Where am I choosing that? Not I'm wrong for choosing it, but could I be more free in my life if I didn't have that as a limitation?
Yeah. And it's like that part is like the, you know, what am I not willing to see? You know, where am I making it more comfortable to, you know, shut down or, you know, close my eyes, thinking like, okay, so if I'm not seeing what is, then I don't know, maybe I'm more comfortable. I don't need to change that much. And, you know, it's like, and it's that, exactly like you say, like, I'm looking at this, like, where am I avoiding, you know, seeing what is, where am I going for the fantasy of what should be, or what have I decided it, you know, is perfect and beautiful. And the same with parenting, like what utopian ideal, what fantasy do you have of how it should look like, rather than what is, what can be, what cannot be. And that's the awareness part, where you, okay, this is what is. What if I don't judge what is? What if I just go, okay, it is what is. I could ask, can I change it? If not, okay, it is what is, you know, and I can't just allow things to be the way it is. And that's even better than any control you can have over your kid. You know, it's like seeing what is, like awareness is this, oh, I can relax into the awareness of what is, what can be, what can't be. I don't need to change it. It's like people have this need of, you know, making everything, I have to change it. I have to get this better. Well, that's a lot of judgments, rather than, okay, it is what is. Can I change it? No. Okay, so can I just relax into the way it is right now? And you know, what else is possible? What can really be changed? But it's the stress that people put themselves under of, I have to change everything and I have to control. And the question that was asked was brilliant. I can't, you know, pronounce your name, but it's just amazing, this control over kids, and you know what we just introducing, instead of control, the trust and the 5 elements of intimacy, and also especially the trust and then the awareness of what can be changed and what can't be changed. You know, what is possible with this particular kid that I have, because every kid is different. You know, what's possible with this particular kid that I have, not with my neighbor's kid and how my neighbors have their relationship, but don't compare yourself, like what's possible with that particular kid. And that's where the relaxation comes in of, really becoming aware, turning on the lights of what can be changed, what can be created, and what can't be changed, what can't be created. And then, okay, can I have allowance for that? Can I stop fighting? Can I just go, okay, you know what? It's not about being perfect. I can just allowance, expand out, become bigger than my awareness. I love that tool. I use this all the time, because our awareness of, the more you do this stuff, the more you use these tools, the more you will be aware, the more you will, notice, the more nuances and things you will notice about you, about your kids. And then, you're like, okay, I have so much awareness. How can I have ease?
I have so much awareness now. I need to change everything with it because I'm aware of everything. I'm aware of everything. I must change everything. But that's like you said with the stress, is it's like we compress ourselves into it in order to judge it enough to see that it should be changed, rather than look at it, like you said, from the place of, can I change this?
Yeah.
And there's so many things that you're saying that I'm like, oh boy, I don't think I can do this. I don't think we can do this in 6 of these. So, because it's massive, like this is a massive topic. We're talking about parenting on planet Earth, while the planet is gone into, it's like, call it what you will, but it's like, with the changes on the planet right now, like, what if we looked at it from a different place? What if we looked at everything that's going on in the world right now from this place of, okay, so what's the gift in this? But the same thing with our kids. If we look at, are they bouncing off the walls and they're driving me crazy, or they think, okay, what's the gift in this? Relax, and then look at it from the place of, can I change it?
So this is really like what Brendon just said. What's the gift in this? This is gold. Okay, so like this is like changing your perspective. Like we don't look at changing behavior here. We look at changing your perspective. Like your point of view creates your reality. So if you change your perspective, you change your point of view, you change your reality, you change your life.
I love that.
What's the gift in this?
Yep. And that part there that you said is a big part. We are not looking at change behavior with this. We're definitely not looking at that, because in order to do that, once again, you have to judge. Like Susanna said, it's changing your point of view. That point of view, all those fixed points of view that we come to, they're the things that sculpt and create and limit our reality, rather than, okay, change my point of view here, what would change? And we've all done it, though. We've all done, like, if you look at your life, we've all gone, well, I don't like this doesn't work for me, and then we'll change our point of view. Like, say with I was getting bullied at school when I was younger, and I had the point of view that I couldn't handle it, I can't handle it, I can't deal with it. One day I just went, you know what, I'll handle it, I'll deal with it today. This is not going on anymore. I changed my point of view, and I never got bullied again. And I went, oh, so my resistance and reaction to it was part of the thing that was creating it? But that's what we do. Rather than go, okay, so everywhere I'm resisting and reacting this, everywhere I'm aligning and agreeing with this is the place where we try and see the right judgment or the wrong judgment. Then, so let's lead into this, because I think we're going to have to get there in this call, is the clearing statement, the Access Consciousness clearing statement, which is right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 9, shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, this is pretty much a way of just, let's say it's your magical wand. Okay, this is where you can bring energy of things and change them. Now, there's a really epic description of this that's a little too long for me to go into right now. So please go and check that out if you want more info. It's theclearingstatement.com. Check that out. But what I want to do with this, and what we both of us want to do, is it's like, so let's look at, say you've got some fixed points of view with your kids right now. Okay, so all the fixed points of view you have with your children right now, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all?
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys and beyonds. Whew.
Okay, so see, this is pretty much, you can bring up anything that's going on and then use this clearing statement. Okay. When I first started Access, I used to go, okay, anything that doesn't allow me to be aware of this, destroy and uncreate it, you know, and I just went crazy with this thing. I was like, talk about OCD with the clearing statement. It would be, I have a magical wand. Okay, I'm going to use it on everything, and I'm going to use it on this, and I'm going to use it on this, and I'm going to use it on this. See, and the other thing with these tools is we're going to give you a lot of tools. You can't put it up. Okay. Worst case is your life stays exactly the same. It's not going to get worse from using one of these tools. Best case is that everything's going to change.
And you don't have to get it, you know, you don't have to know what this stuff means, you know, like the first time when I heard this, I was just like, I was working as a psychologist and I heard this and somebody says, you know, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shorts, boys, and I'm like, what are you, you know, right. This is supposed to be anything. Hello, I've studied this, no fixed point of view there. Oh yeah, a lot. And so, but I could sense like something was changing every time that person said it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to embrace this tool. For the first time in my life, I'm not going to try to understand it. I'm not trying to get it through here. I'm just going to receive it. Like, cause I was in a part in my life where I'm like, I'm not happy. This doesn't work for me. Something needs to change. So whatever works, I will have it. I don't need to understand it. So if you're at that point, you don't worry about getting it. Don't try to make sense of it. Just,
you can't make sense of it.
No.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's the thing we do with our minds is we go, okay, well, if I think myself out of this, if I can think the right way to do this, then I'm finally going to get my life right. And it's like, we've tried that. Once again, it's one of those things we choose that doesn't work. So I was the same though. It's like I was 10 years ago, I was ready to end my life. I'd had enough. I was so depressed. I was so unhappy. And I found this girl, this girl had this ad in the newspaper, said, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. Call this number. The Access bars. That was a number for the Access bars. And I called her and she said, okay, so I do this thing called the Access bars, and we like 32 points on your head. And worst case is it feels like you've had worst case is easy for me to say. Worst case is it feels like you've had a great massage. Best case is your whole life will change. And I went, oh, I'm in, you know, and I went and got this session with her, which I highly recommend. Access bars. There you go. That's my plug for Access bars. But I went and got this session with her, and I laid on this table, and she started touching these points on my head, and she said, hey, can I ask you some questions while I'm doing it and use this clearing statement? Use this bunch of crazy words, she said. And I went, you can do whatever you want right now. My life needs to change. And I laid there for an hour and a half for this session, and I sobbed. I didn't even know what was coming out of me. I was like, where's this? Like, and I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And she asked me these questions and she used this clearing statement. And after this session, I went, what just happened? Like, I feel like I felt like for the first time in my life, I was like, since I was a kid, that I had me again. Yeah. And for a lot of us, what we've done is we've created as just this pile of stress, this pile of shit that we're trying to fix, rather than, okay, you can't fix a pile of shit. Okay. If you've stepped in shit, you can't fix that. You can only pull your foot out and do something different. And it's the same thing with our lives. It's not about looking at anymore how to, like, yeah, but I've stuffed all these things up, but I've done all these things wrong, but I've been this terrible parent, but I've done all this, and my kids are assholes, and blah, blah, blah. And how do I look at all these problems? How do I fix the problems? Stop. Let's not look at the problems anymore. Let's look at the possibilities. So what would it take for us to go from problems to possibilities in these calls too? So you can start expanding your life every day. So that like, can you imagine if every day your life got greater? Every day you got to have more of you. Every day your kids got to have more of them. But you having more of you didn't depend on them having more of them. And them having more of them didn't depend on you having more of you. this is with what Susanna was talking about before, where it has to work for you and it has to work for them. Okay. If your kid's being an asshole, it doesn't mean you give up what's true for you. If you're being an asshole, it doesn't mean your kid has to give up what's true for them. Okay. Once again, this is that place with control. So,
and also,
I'm just like, I'm blown away by this whole thing. It's like,
yeah, this is amazing. And like, just like with what you said, is like, what if your job is not to be a normal citizen of this planet? What if your job is actually to be everything you are, the difference you are, everything you bring to this planet that makes you weird and wacky and wonderful, and inspire you and inspire everybody who's willing to be inspired. And hey, like now is the time, you know, for this different space for all of us.
Yeah, that different space, and it's like that difference is the gift of us. Like, the planet needs it right now from all of us. It's not just a few of us. Let's go, okay. But it's also, once again, it's not that place of depending on others to choose it. We have to be willing to look at what's true for us. But also, see, in that, I mean, with the parenting, when I was unhappy this 10 years ago before I got this bars session, which literally changed the trajectory of my life, I went, oh, okay, there's got to be something else. Now, I knew that. But before that, I was looking at it going, you know what? I want my son to grow up in a world where he doesn't feel wrong all the time. I want him to grow up in a world where he's not judging himself. I want him to grow up in a world where he knows he can create something different. And I went through this whole list of shit in my head. And I went, wait a minute. I'm not willing to choose any of that. How am I going to empower this kid to choose it if I'm not willing to choose it myself? Yeah. See, and this is the part, it's like, we've got to be the ones to go. We've got to be the first ones to make those different choices so that we can start creating something different, not only with parenting, but with our lives and with the planet. So we've got something like, you know, Lauren Marie put a it's like one of those things on GoFundMe or something for this thing that we've got in Access called Actions for Futures, where we're looking at, okay, so what actions do we take today so that we can create a greater future, create a future of 10,000 years? Like, what actions can we take now that are going to create something greater? And she put this thing in there. It was her birthday. And she said, you know what? I'd like for my birthday for anyone who's willing to contribute to this GoFundMe thing for Actions for Futures, because I'd like a planet that my kids can grow up on.
Yeah. And you know, but that doesn't mean that the world has to be perfect for our kids. You know, it's like the world is what it is. You know, it's like right now it is what it is, and it's like, what if we also trust that we can handle it? You know, what if we trust that we have the capacities and the strength to handle this? And what if you can trust your kids that they have what it takes to handle it, whether it's you getting divorced or you having a separation situation, whatever, you know, unperfect, you know, condition you think you have. What if you can trust that your kids have what it takes, have the capacities, have the potencies to handle this, you know, because they do.
And they don't have to suffer. It's like, what if we didn't have to suffer anymore? What if we didn't have to? What if the nightmare was over and it was time to dream again? You know, and that might sound to people like, some people would look at that and go, airy fairy bullshit. No. Okay, we've both been using these tools. We've both seen how we can create something different, or we wouldn't be talking about it. We would not sit here and waste your time or ours trying to talk about these things so that people can have a greater life. Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's your life. You get to live it how you want to live it. You get to be who you want to be in it. Okay? What if you get to start choosing that now from the place of, okay, what would I like to be? What's different about me that I could start acknowledging? And what or am I already that if I would acknowledge it would set me free of all of this? everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow. And all these questions, like, how would you like to be a parent? You know, what's your way of doing it? And what's your way of doing it today? And what's your way of doing it tomorrow? And if, you know, this can change in every moment. And it's like, and what if, you know, this again, this is not airy-fairy stuff. This is very practical things. We apply this in every moment, and we don't apply this from shoving things off or avoiding things. It's from including everything, you know, like you include the good and the bad and the ugly, and by including it and not, you know, putting it away from you, avoiding it, you have choice. You're like, how would I like to create myself today with everything that's going on? Like,
that's such a
not needing to be perfect. What would I like to create myself as today?
That's such a good day. I was about to say that's such a good day. You guys are wiping my head out. I'm like, well, apparently today are not my thing, but apparently they haven't been lately. But one of the things you said there with it's about including the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, we are definitely not talking about, you've got kids, they're not going to cry, they're not going to be assholes, they're not going to, you know, fail at things at school, they're not going to do all that. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about having ease, joy, and glory with all of it, because you're going to have your bad days. Okay, I still have my bad days, but I also know I have the tools now to get out of it, or I can stay in it and enjoy it. But I know, like Susanna said, I know I have choice. Okay, so this is really about getting to the place where you get to start seeing, oh, I have a different choice. Okay, good.
Yes.
I have a different choice. What would I like to choose? And who would I like to be today?
Yeah. Yeah. And from that, like when we talk about including everything, it's like there's a wonderful tool. Like there's the mantra of access consciousness that you can use every day as much as possible. Like especially like when you think you're getting freaked out, you know, or pissed off or whatever, you can say all of life comes to us or comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life, not just the wonderful, you know, sunset and everything, but also when you, you know, your kids, you just say, okay, I don't need to judge that. All of life, also my kids, come to me with ease and joy and glory, you know, and you can say this over and over again and see what that creates.
Yep. Yeah, and see what that creates. It's such a big thing with these tools, is it's like, use them as a toolkit, you know, as playfulness, so that you can go, oh wow, mate, this is really hard today. What tool could I use? All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And you go, what just happened? I just have a different sense of space with me right now. But play with it and see what shows up for you. But with that all, like Susanna said, run it. So try this, okay? Try running it at least 10 times in the morning when you wake up, 10 times in the evening before you go to bed. Okay, play with that one. We're gonna wrap this up soon. So Susanna, maybe. I know we've thrown in so many things here with this. So I just want to recap on a few things. So the light and heavy tool. Okay, look at that one. And go, okay. So is this choice light for me? Or is it heavy? And teach your kids that too, so that they can start becoming aware of what's true for them. The next one is that we didn't really go into, so I won't go into that one because that's a whole different conversation. Okay, I need to talk more about the 5 elements of intimacy, but we might have to do that one. There's so many things. And I think we've gotten to what we needed to get to in this one. So,
yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
I'd say have way too much fun. You know, have more fun than is normal.
I like that. Have more fun than is normal, because you're not normal. And if you've been on this for an hour and 5 minutes, you're definitely not normal. It's okay. You're different. We're different. It's fun. We like different. Different is fun.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining, Susanna. You have been just, I adore you. You're wonderful. You're amazing. Please check out Susanna's book. Where else can they find you and your stuff?
SusannaMittermaier.com.
We're going to put that, we'll put that in the chat. It's like me trying to talk tech. We'll put that in the chat thing. I'm like, I'm technically.
In the thing.
Yeah. In the thing. We're going to put that in the thing on the computer that's at the bottom of the thing with the thing.
Yeah, definitely. Somewhere. Thank you so much, Brendon, for creating this. Oh, what a gift.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right now. Wow.
Yeah. I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. Thank you to everyone who's watching now and in the future. Please, please, please know there's always something else possible. You just got to ask for it. What else is possible today that I've never even considered possible before? Okay. Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you.